In for Steph here, and so excited to. This is my first Friday 15, so hopefully we're going to do an excellent job. I mean, I do have an amazing co-host today, Lindsay Taylor of TL365. Hi, Lindsay.
Hey, Rita. And luckily, it's not my first Friday 15.
Yes.
I don't know anything of the technology, though, so that's all on you. I don't know how to help
Yes.
you.
Yeah, we'll do all that behind the scenes and
It'll
all
be fun.
that.
It'll all work
But
out.
and I'm glad that we've connected before, so that this is going to be a really, really great episode of Friday 15. If you're new around here, Friday 15s happen every Friday. We answer a couple questions for about 15 minutes. So you get in that really great, pack that punch in, and then get along with the rest of your Friday. So really want to also mention that host week is quickly upon us. It is that last week in January 29th through February 2nd. And so you can go ahead, head over to register at hostagencyreviews.com/host week. And something that is brand new are coffee spots this year. It's kind of like a pre-show to host week. And we've got a lot of different suppliers that you can actually do a little bit of a meet and greet and really learn about what their product is. And so if I remember off the top of my head, we have Fora, Uniglobe Travel Center, Turn, and then we also have Sion. So a couple host agencies and a couple tech solutions. So make sure to register for those. But let's get into the questions today. So the first question. Oh, and Lindsay, for those that don't know who you are, can you tell us a little bit about what you do at TL365?
Yeah, so I'm director of luxury and hosting. So I oversee all of our luxury portfolio and sales, and I get to work with all of our independent advisors. I also get to work with my inside sales team as well, which I really love doing. But I love our luxury sector of our industry, and that's where I get to spend most of my time.
Yay, woohoo! And another plug for Host Week of 2023. I keep messing up the numbers, but you had an amazing presentation last year, so you can look at the recordings of last year's Host Week as well and find Lindsay's presentation there.
Thank you.
Yeah. Alrighty. So this first question comes in from Tim M. Actually, I think all of our questions today are Tim M. So thank you for being so generous with us today, Tim. Hi, I just started my home-based IC travel business. Har has given me so much great information. Hopefully you can answer these questions. Thank you, Tim. I have many potential clients who have loyalty program status with airlines and hotels like Delta Sky Miles and Marriott Bonvoy. What are the logistics of ensuring they receive loyalty benefits, qualifying nights, the miles, points, etc. when booking their stay as a travel agent? Do I need to book direct through hotels, or will I be able to use other suppliers and still have their loyalty programs honored? I'm going to defer that one to you, Lindsay.
It's a good question. It's always easiest to add those numbers to bookings instead of trying to use points. I would definitely avoid attempting to use miles or points to book anything.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very difficult way to actually make money for you as an advisor. But as far as planning travel and including those numbers, it's fairly easy. It depends on the program. It depends on what they allow you to do. And then it also depends on your host agency and what consortia you're a part of. So for instance, we're part of Internova. We've got the Select program.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, my Select amenities are far greater and far better and more beneficial to the traveler than whatever their Hilton Honors or Marriott Bonvoy, whatever that would be.
Okay.
So you have to kind of balance it against what's available to you as the advisor to book. If you do not have those consortia amenities or any kind of special preferred partnership or anything like that, then obviously booking that whatever the rate is for their membership, for their loyalty club, you can work with that. Again, it depends on the supplier. Depending on, I know Marriott, Hilton, Hyatt, the big boys all tend to kind of play fair with the advisors as you're booking that. But you do want to make sure, and if you're booking like a super discount rate, it might not be commissionable. So you want to make sure as you're booking those things, is it commissionable? Is it not commissionable? And then there might be a reason for you to book it, even if it's not commissionable. So everything in the industry, everything's a balance of what the client needs and what you need as an advisor to make sure that you're compensated as well. So generally, if it is non-commissionable, I'd recommend charging a fee so that you do earn something on that transaction and on the travel planning services. But they do generally allow you to include those, particularly the airlines, very easy to add those frequent flyer numbers. It's a great service to provide your client to add those numbers so that then they can book. For me personally, I have American Advantage. I've got status with American. And so whenever I fly an American, I can book those basic economy fares and get my seats. I can still bring my bags. I can do all this stuff because my number's in that booking. So it's that balance, and it just kind of depends on the supplier that you're working with and what your actual objective is.
Perfect. And I'm thinking too, like if you're using a consortia related kind of like special promo, are you still able to add their loyalty numbers to that?
Yeah, you could. I
Okay.
mean, generally they'll ask for it, and they'll earn points on it through that. It's just not necessarily going to be the benefits that are provided by the program. It could
Okay.
be. It depends on the hotel, and frankly, it depends on the site level. Like you can book any number of a big chain, and if you're booking in Phoenix or Boise or New York, it's going to have different. It just depends on who you're working with.
Right. Yeah. Cause I know a lot of hotel properties have different management companies. So it might be a Marriott, but it might be managed by not Marriott, like a different company.
But if you've already VIP'd them, this is the whole point of using a travel advisor, right? This is why
Right.
people hire us to book their travel, is so that they get those amenities, they get the extras, right? And including the points. And you want to have your status recognized. And so at the very least, if you're staying at one of the big properties that does have a loyalty program, making sure that the nights are counted so that
Mhm.
increases, even if they're not necessarily receiving benefits from the program, if that makes sense.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Perfect. Well, that was hopefully a very good eye opener for you, Tim. Question 2. I know that this is a popular question. It's kind of like a hot topic, I feel, in the industry right now. If I want to book FIT travel, how can I safely curate customized itineraries as a travel agent and not stray into accidentally being considered a tour operator? Now, I know we have some bullet points from Tom Carpenter, who's an attorney. He specializes in the media and travel industry, so we can talk a little bit about that. But another, like, listen in on Host Week, because Whitney Schindler of Masters in Travel and the Hive is going to be having a session on Wednesday about 8 things to ask a new to you DMC. So that's going to give you even more information. But top notes or thoughts that you're thinking about right now, Lindsay?
So when I try to conceptualize the difference between a tour operator and a DMC to anybody, I
Mhm.
always say the tour operator generally has to subcontract everything. So when you're
Mm.
versus the DMC, who generally has boots on the ground in whatever region that they're operating.
Mhm.
So thinking about this, generally advisors are subcontracting everything, right? When push
Right.
comes to shove, we're utilizing the services of other suppliers to create. We're not the ones who are coordinating. Our supplier partners are the ones who are coordinating the travel. And so it can be and certainly there are some advisors who do stray into the tour operating side of things, which is a
Mhm.
very intentional thing that they're doing though. And so
Right.
usually those types of trips are geared now from a legal standpoint versus a consumer standpoint. I'm talking more the consumer standpoint. Tom's information is going to definitely inform more the legal standpoint. But as far as the actual function of being a tour operator goes, it's going to be more, you've got like a set of itineraries that you're selling to people, or a certain region that you're typically only operating in, you're sourcing your own travel, that sort of thing. As far as the consumer goes, it's always the best practice. Again, talk to Tom, always talk to your attorney. I'm not one.
Oh, yes.
um, Best practice though is to charge your client's credit card directly against the supplier that's being used. That's for your client's protection. And so when you're doing that, that's actually going to make it difficult for anybody to accuse you of being a tour operator, because you're
Mhm.
not the one. Now you're charging a fee, sure, but you're charging a consultation fee or a trip planning fee, whatever you're calling it.
Right.
But you're not charging the value of the trip against your own merchant account. That is going to the supplier.
Right.
And so it's those things that make it very clear, being very clear with your client. The duties, again, talk to attorneys. If you have questions about liability on this sort of thing, definitely talk to your attorney. But we have duties of care, we have responsibilities, and one of those duties is to inform them who is actually handling their travel. And so as long as you're doing that, and you're not, some advisors try to obfuscate things a little bit. They only want the client to see their logo, they only want the client to see their name. That's when
Mhm.
it can get a little dicey on this side of things, because it does kind of muddle who is responsible for the actual transaction, who's responsible for the ground handling, who's responsible when things go wrong.
Right.
Um, So I think as long as you're kind of abiding by those best practices of charging, all of them, basically, you're really not going to be accused of being something you're not, unless you're trying to be a tour operator, in which case it will be pretty clear that you are doing that.
Right, right. And that's kind of what it seems is like really where the gray line that Tom is talking about, or the gray area is it comes into play is with errors and emission coverage. And if you're unaware of what errors and emissions coverage, it's pretty just an insurance coverage that you can get from different suppliers within the industry, or just like your regular insurance carrier, business insurance carrier, that covers if you've made an error or an emission when booking someone's trip. So he says recently one of the major insurance companies that provides errors and emissions coverage has started taking the position that if you do a lot of FIT trips, independent trips, if you travel with your groups frequently, or even if you're booking through a host agency, that all those things make you a tour operator. I think they're doing that because they want to sell more expensive tour operator policies. But if your E&O carrier says that you need a tour operator policy, that's what you should put in place. But just because the insurance company classifies you as a tour operator doesn't mean that a court would find you to be one. So if people don't understand what they want to say in the lane of being a booking agent rather than being a tour operator, the simple answer is that you're a tour operator. You're taking on a lot of liability for pretty much anything that happens on your trip, even if it's something that you control. The number one thing to keep you out of being a tour operator is to always disclose who your principal supplier is, like Lindsay had mentioned. The second most important thing is to have a terms and conditions document that your client agrees to, where they agree that they understand that you're solely functioning as a booking agent and not as the principal supplier. Other factors include if you take net rates and mark them up, if you white label your itineraries. So I know Lindsay kind of touched on that also. If you bundle things together and charge one price for an FIT trip, or if you do a lot of hosted or escorted groups where you travel with your clients. Any combination of these factors could lead a court to find you as a tour operator, that you're operating as a tour operator rather than a booking agent for the supplier. But the big ones are always disclose who that supplier is and make sure you've got a rock solid terms and conditions document that is crafted for the specific types of trips you book and clients you work with. And we'll make sure to add some of Tom's information in the chat too, if you're wanting to connect with him and dive in a little bit more. He does a lot of really great work within the industry, so you can defer to him for any options or just clarity on what the difference is between a booking agent and a tour supplier is also.
I definitely, and outside of being classified a tour operator or an advisor, it's honestly best practice for any independent. It's different when you're working with an agency. If you're a staff person with an agency and they have different ways to do it, go for it. For instance,
Yeah.
my agency owns a DMC, and so we have our
Okay.
we're covered. My staff advisors kind of they do what they need to do. Independent advisors, wholly different. You are completely
Mhm.
liable for what you're booking and how you're booking it.
Right.
If the pandemic taught us anything, it's let other people be responsible for the money, because at the end of the day, push comes to shove, and God forbid there be another pandemic, but let's
Right.
say the client has a massive heart attack and has to or whatever, heaven forbid that happens too. But
Right.
if you're the one who's taken all the money, if you've packaged everything together, you've charged one gross amount through your merchant account, and then for whatever reason the client cancels or is disputing something, you are liable for that charge then at
Right.
that point, and that can get bad pretty quick.
Yes, you definitely want to avoid those kinds of sticky situations. Our question number 3, final question. Do agents typically manage their workflow with their host agency provided CRM program only, or are there other project management platforms that are popular with travel agents? And I know, like, I love this question, but what are your thoughts, especially coming from the hosted side?
Yeah, so we have on my agency, we have our own CRM for our advisors to use if they want to. We have to use client base, and as an agency, we must use client base just so it communicates with all the things it must communicate with. RICs are not required to use client base. RICs can invest in their own technologies. They can utilize the technologies that we provide, which we're happy, we love it. My
Okay.
president and my CEO are obsessed with technology, so we have just all sorts of things happening for RICs. But Outside
Yay.
of that, if you're an advisor who I know a lot of advisors love to use, they like to pair Travel Joy and Travify. So
Right.
Travel Joy more is like their functional CRM, Travify as their itinerary generator. Other incredible itinerary generators, UMapped, Axis, there's a ton of them. So depending on how you're needing to structure things, this kind of then speaks to how do you work? What's
Right.
your workflow? Every advisor is so different. And so if you're talking to two different advisors, they've each got a different way of project management and client management.
Right.
So you just want to make sure that whatever you're using is encrypted. It's super safe. You've got that SSL stuff happening, because at the end of the day, you're handling very sensitive information on part of your clients,
Right.
credit card numbers, passports, all this stuff, addresses. You do not want that information. You don't want to be the reason that information is leaked. That is because then again, more liability. So you can use what your host agency provides. If they provide, some host agencies don't provide it.
Right.
Or if you need to seek out your own, there are different solutions like Zoho has a great, relatively easily priced CRM,
Right.
CRM client relationship management. So if you're not using one, I really encourage you to. I was talking to an advisor last week. She just joined us, and I said, okay, how do we want to get you? We've got this opportunity for a CRM. She goes, what's a CRM? And I explained it to her, and I said, so how are you tracking client data? And she has this
Mhm.
massive Excel spreadsheet. And she's been in business for 10 years, and she's been using this massive Excel
Oh,
spreadsheet,
wow.
which is great. I'm so glad she has that data. But my God,
Yes,
can you imagine sorting through that to find what you need?
I
So
know.
it's not just having the information, it's also making it readily available to you so that you can use it. So you can send out promos, so that you can, whatever you need to do to communicate with your client base, you want to have that information right at your hands. So the answer is you can use however you want. As an independent, you are free, and unless your contract is weird, you are free and clear to do business however you want to do it, including utilizing
Right.
those different suppliers.
Right. Yeah, and to add on to that too, the difference kind of between what a CRM does, kind of like the CRM specifically in the travel industry, like a Travel Joy, Travify, Turn is an up and coming one, and I know there's a lot of different names, Test, Vacation CRM. Those really organize all the aspects of planning a trip. And then a project management tool like a Trello, ClickUp, Monday, Asana really help to manage your full business. And I know at Host Agency Reviews, we utilize ClickUp for all the different kind of like departments in our business. So it's not that just you're planning just travel, but as a travel business owner, like you have your marketing, you have your sales, you might have team information, you might have if you've gone on fam trips, adding in that information too, like as a kind of like knowledge base. And so that's kind of, I would kind of marry them together. I think a lot of the technology that we have within the industry is trying to apply more of those project management pieces. But if you haven't found a solution, it might just be really great. They do have, I believe they all have free versions or very low cost. Like I think an annual plan with ClickUp might be $60, $75. So it's super affordable for a year.
And it's worth the investment. I think a lot of times we try to see another good one is Pipe Drive. I don't know if you've seen Pipe Drive.
Oh, I haven't heard that one.
Yeah, so there's tons of platforms out there, but it's going to
Yeah,
speak to how you need to best organize information. I would caution against, so trying the free is great, but once you're going to utilize it, purchase that subscription.
right.
It's worth it. You're a professional. You need to behave professionally, which means that you're not just going to rely on what's free. And it's also a safety security type thing. You're going to have those controls in place.
Yep.
And then there's also additional functionality too. Some of them make it so easy just to import information and share. So it's a wide world out there, but you need to do what's best for you and your business and your
Yep.
clients.
Yep. Yep. I was like, I feel like we could talk about this for much longer, but we're trying to keep it condensed. So those are all of our questions for today. Lindsay, thank you so much for being here. Well, we're going to make sure to put TL365 information in the chat. But where else can people connect with you or the TL365 team?
Yeah, so my email is ltaylor@tl365.com. We are all over the place on social media. We are all over the place on, we're just kind of everywhere. We've been everywhere,
Mhm.
but yeah, email me. We can chat more. TL365.com is our website, and we're happy to chat.
Yay, wonderful. Coming up on Friday 15, next week, we're going to have April Swales with Uniglobe Travel Center. Following that week is going to be Christine Hardenberger with Modern Travel Professionals. And then February 2nd, it's host week, Friday 15, and one of you will be the co-host. So we are so stinking excited. You have a wonderful week. Remember to sign up for host week that's happening at this end of the year, this end of the month. We just got started, and woo, we did it. My first Friday 15.
You
I
did a
hope you
great
enjoyed this
job.
one. Yay,
Nothing
thank
caught
you.
fire or anything. It's all good.
No, we're all set. Thank you again, Lindsay, for being here and being at my first Friday 15. And thanks, travel advisors. We'll see you on the